Anthem. It was supposed to be simple, just some quick gameplay videos to share a game I was enjoying. Of course, it's only natural to want to share something you like. By the way, one thing I thought was cool is that it seems to have more exploration elements than other games in its class, and moving around in the Ranger Javelin felt really good and natural. I did have to tweak the mouse flight quite a bit, and the swimming, Lord have mercy. Still, despite a few hiccups, which were mostly disconnects, I managed to have a really good time. But I digress. This isn't a review, and to be honest, it isn't really about Anthem. Hell, it isn't even commentary on my experience. What this is about has to do with the biggest hurdle the game faces right now. Disconnects, desyncs, bugs, lack of content, and just straight hateful trolls are a drop in a bucket when measured besides the great big dead elephant in the room. It was once a great company called Electronic Arts, at one time a giant, a true titan of the gaming world. But that was long ago, as the speaker said. A very long time indeed. Today the name has come to be just an acronym, EA, two letters which reveal nothing of its mission statement. In its prime, a nameplate that inspired confidence, a mark that assured quality. Yes, long ago. I'm inclined to believe the community would have been much more forgiving about the recent demo's many shortcomings if EA hadn't sold out their integrity beforehand. If I'm to be honest, it seems the overall sentiment has less to do with how the glitches and such affected the experience negatively, and more with the notion that they happened because EA and BioWare simply didn't care enough to offer better initial quality, especially to the premium segment which had pre-ordered, and that, for that same reasons, the game won't be much different by the time it launches. The idea, I think, that prevails in most of us is that since the game is supposed to be nothing more than a cash cow anyway, why would EA and BioWare care about it as much as we do? And since EA's track record as of late would hardly compel us to believe otherwise, then the question stands, why should we care so much about Anthem then? This is what I understand to be the big issue, and in all honesty, I think it's unfair. Unfair not to EA or to BioWare per se, but to all the individual artists, programmers, engineers, etc., that invested so much of themselves to create Anthem, to the players hoping to find a terrarium wherein they can create awesome experiences with their friends, and finally to the medium itself. We all want to see companies like EA fall because we feel injured, and they probably deserve it, but I beg to differ. I have to be honest here, brutally so. I don't want to see EA fall. I want to see it redeem itself. Video games have been part of my life since I opened my eyes to the world, and that was so long ago that I beheld everything most of you read in its history with my own eyes. You think the NES is retro? I had to wait half a decade to even know about it while I was still playing on my Magnavox and my 2600 on a 12-inch black and white CRT, fellows. I'm a gamer from the core. I was born playing video games, and I've been gaming my whole life. Casual gaming doesn't mean a goddamn thing to me. I don't understand it. It doesn't exist in my mental space. Gaming isn't something I do. Video games is who I am. They are part of what defines me as a person, and everybody I've come across in my life knows that very well. Video games are, to my eyes, a medium by which many art forms come together. They are in themselves works of art. They are a substrate for self expression, as much for the creators as it is for the players. They test the limits of our skill and allow us to explore our most beautiful dreams as well as our darkest nightmares. Today, more than ever, they are an ever present part of our lives and our culture the world over. EA appears to never have come to grasp with this, And I wonder if, after all the apologies and policy changes, they even understand the gravity of their blunder. I hope they can genuinely come around and actually become part of the community as a gaming company. Vengeful tendencies won't help a thing, and the fall of EA could be very damaging to video games as an industry and as a form of art. To me, that's what matters most. Without video games, I believe the world would diminish somewhat, and that's why I can't wish for EA to die. But what about those of us who actually care about Anthem? We who stand in our hope between the fanboys and the haters. We want to see Anthem succeed. In my case, I do because I saw there is a soul in this game. Creatively, there are things you just can't fake. Little details in the way you put things together, and in Anthem, these things are everywhere. From the placement of all the random objects strewn about Fort Tarsis, the very architecture of it, the landscapes look alive, and the way your javelin seems to step into the ground beneath its feet with a satisfying weight to it is simply delightful. It's things like that that you can't feign. They are also the things we take for granted. They are, however, what separates excellence from mediocrity. I never cared about Anthem before I played it, and I was as cynical about it as anyone else. The first missions felt deeply disappointing, and I thought of uninstalling it within the first few minutes. But I decided to give it a fair shot, and it started growing on me. The canyons and the rivers, the waterfalls and the trees started to become real. The stage began to unravel, and I began to find little details, pieces of its history, revealing the culture of the game world, and I became immersed in it. I started customizing my ranger, and I started to become invested in it. I started to feel an attachment to it. I actually felt proud of my javelin because it felt uniquely mine. Playing the stronghold, I felt connected to other players I didn't even know and had a lot of fun all the while. I, like many others, want Anthem to happen. But how can it happen? What does EA have to do or not do in order for Anthem to succeed? Which steps must BioWare take for it to succeed? And what's our place as a community in all of this? How should we proceed to help it flourish? I feel inclined to think we should keep a watchful eye on EA and BioWare to ensure good conduct and a certain minimal standard of quality. Surely that would make sense. However, even if the creators did everything right, I understand that we, as customers of a community driven service, should also exercise restraint in our conduct. If we truly want Anthem to become what we want, then we should be what it needs. We must enforce transparency and fairness before EA and BioWare, but we must also enforce good principle and discipline so we can correct the publishers and the developers while minimizing damage to the game itself. Anthem can only happen if we all work together as a community so the creators can make their money fairly and we can have a great time. What good are eyes if there's nothing to see? What good is art if there is no one to observe it? To the creators, I say, earn your place and redeem yourselves. Become part of the community. To the community itself, I say, let's look for ways to resolve problems with patience and intelligence so we can make it all happen in the healthiest way possible. So, there, those are my 2 cents. It's something I felt I had to say. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'm very interested in hearing what you think about all this. I'll see you around soon, and in the meantime, don't forget to keep your thumb on what's real.
When I was a whippersnapper, frankfurters were a nickel.